Ilhan Omar went on Mehdi Hasan's new show, and gotta be honest with you guys, man, this clip really made me sad. It really made me sad because the biggest issue I've had with progressives in Congress is that they're like a chicken with their head cut off. They have no idea what they're doing. They have zero strategy, zero plan, zero spine, and it manifests in very pathetic ways. Like, they look like children. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. And listen, that critique that I'm making is fundamentally different and distinct from people who argue they're all corrupt. No, that's actually not the case. There's plenty of progressive Congress people who don't take any corporate PAC money, who don't take any big money. They really only raise through small dollar donations. They're by definition not corrupt. So then what's their issue? Their issue is they don't know what the fuck they're doing and they're incredibly weak. That's the issue. So my critique is fundamentally different from a critique that many others make, and I just want to be clear about that. But having said that, I literally cannot say enough about how pathetic and weak and sad they are, and how easy it is to get them to be fractured and factionalized and useless. Leadership plays them like a fiddle on a regular basis. So here's Ilhan Omar being asked by Mehdi Hasan about the strategy to get a $15 minimum wage through. And look at her non-answer.
Shift to the big picture. It was reported by Politico that you were part of a Congressional Progressive Caucus delegation that recently met with White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain. What asks did you make? And what do you say to your critics on the left who say progressives in Congress like yourself, the Squad, the CPC, haven't pushed Biden hard enough on issues like the $15 minimum wage, universal health care, the filibuster?
I mean, it is because that we have been pushing really that the American Rescue Plan is deemed to be the most progressive policy in decades. We certainly understand that there was a failed strategy, not by the progressives in Congress, because we put $15 in the package, by the administration. I think their early signaling that could be negotiated out, and it might not stick as part of the final package, really, I think, endangered the ability for us to pass $15. And so when we were in that meeting, we pushed for a strategy to get $15 minimum wage. We pushed for a strategy to pass the agenda that the administration ran on, that the Democrats agree on, whether it is passing sensible gun laws, dealing with our immigration crisis, and all of the things that we all care about. What we walked away from that conversation with is an understanding that there is a limited window of opportunity for us to push these pieces of legislation. There are members in the Senate within the Democratic Party that are certainly not there yet on the priority pieces of legislation that we have. And it's going to be up to the administration to come up with a strategy to push them, because progressives in the House are constantly told to get in line and to push policies that are going to have an impact on people's lives. That's what those Democrats in the Senate need to be told, and that's what's going to take.
That was a terrible answer. So let me break it down for you. First, she starts by saying, well, listen, the American Rescue Plan is the most progressive policy in decades. You are supposed to be the left flank of Congress. You're not supposed to just cheerlead the plan that originally was supposed to have $2,000 checks. They reduced it to $1,400 checks. And the other big promise was the $15 minimum wage, and that was taken out. So for you to do the cheerleading for this watered-down plan means the left flank is okay with the watered-down plan. No, the whole reason you're there is to be the hardliner and to say, no, this didn't have the $2,000 checks, this didn't have the $15 minimum wage. That's unacceptable. And by the way, another phenomenal critique of the American Rescue Plan is that it's a one shot of adrenaline. There's nothing that's recurring in there. Nothing. so it doesn't last. Things that last are stuff like Social Security, Medicare. Those are the real accomplishments. An infrastructure deal that builds roads which last generations. That lasts. This is a one shot of adrenaline. And her response is, when asked about why haven't you been more critical and why haven't you fought for your priorities, she says, it's the most progressive policy in decades. Hate that part. Then she goes on to say, well, look, it was a failed strategy, but not by progressives because we put it in the package. So in other words, what she's alluding to is the $15 minimum wage actually passed the House in the American Rescue Package. In the Senate, they took it out. So her point is, blame the Senate. Yeah, but then when they took it out and it came back to you, you voted for it without the $15 minimum wage. That's a horrible excuse, because then you voted for it without the minimum wage. You needed to do exactly what Joe Manchin does, when Joe says, I'm not going to vote for it if it's not what I want. Then the administration has to bend to his will. If you have more Democrats in the House that are not going to vote for the bill, if it doesn't have the $15 minimum wage in there, then you're going to get the $15 minimum wage, because you're putting the pressure on Biden and Kamala to then force the 8 Democrats in the Senate who are against the $15 minimum wage. You're forcing them to actually do politics and say, listen, you got to do it because this thing needs to pass. And we have more people who aren't going to vote for it if it doesn't have the $15 minimum wage. So what do you want? What do you need? We'll do carrots or sticks. You know, I could be your best friend. I could be your worst enemy. I'll give you some extra money for your state or whatever. What do you want? You want a position in the administration? We will make it work if you vote for this bill with the $15 minimum wage. We'll make it work. But if you don't, you're my enemy. I'm going to campaign against you. You're going to lose your seat. You have to force them to actually play politics, but they didn't do that because they don't want to, if they vote down the bill, then be blamed and have the media dislike them. That's what they don't want, the media to come after them because of their fifis, and they'll feel like, oh, I only love being adored. And so this is unacceptable that the media is coming after me. But change is never easy. You're going to have smear merchants. You're going to have people making terrible arguments against you. But if you're standing on principle, and you are if you're fighting for the $15 minimum wage, take the fight on. I want to have that debate. The media's going to come after me because I'm fighting for workers to make a living wage? Fuck off. I'll take that fight on all day, every day, son. The media is wrong and I am right. Bring it on. Then, she says, the administration, so what she says is, she passes the buck and says, well, the administration said early on that maybe we'll take out the $15 minimum wage, and that was the mistake, so it's their fault. Here's where she's wrong on this. Ilhan, that wasn't a mistake. You want to know why Joe Biden said that early on? It's because he doesn't want the $15 minimum wage in there. So your problem is treating these corporate Democratic leaders as if they're genuine allies in the fight for the things that you want. She even goes on to say that literally. She says, look, Democrats agree on these things. We all care about these things. But they don't, Ilhan. They don't all agree with this. They're not all for the $15 minimum wage. They're not all for the $2,000 checks. They're not all for universal health care. They're not all for the policies that really define what it means to be on the left. In fact, the corporate Democrats are crystal clear in that they're against those things. They're neoliberal corporatists. They want to split the difference between Democratic ideas and Republican ideas. That's triangulation. That's the New Deal Democrats. This is the whole model of the Democratic Party since Bill Clinton. So to not know that, or to know that and then mislead about it, it's unacceptable. You were put there to fight for these things, and you didn't fight for it, and now you're passing the buck and saying, well, Joe Biden told me that, hey, we'll take out the $15 minimum wage maybe, so he shouldn't have said that, it's his fault. But you're assuming that he actually wants the $15 minimum wage in there. He doesn't. So you needed to treat him like he's an enemy and use your pressure on him. It's not just Republican bad, Democrat good, but that appears to be the operating system that they're working with. That, oh, if we can't get it, it's just because even though everybody wanted it, there were some missteps and what are we going to do? No, that's not the way it is. And then finally, she says very explicitly, for the Senate Democrats that aren't there yet, meaning like Manchin and Sinema, it's on the administration to push them. And we're always told as progressives, get in line, get in line, get in line. It's the same fundamental problem. It's not on the administration to push them, Ilhan, because they don't agree with you. So it's on you and the Progressive Caucus, and not really the Progressive Caucus because more than half of them are frauds. It's on you and the Justice Democrats, who I know are not corrupt. It's on you guys to not be weak and afraid of your own shadow and band together and vote as a block and come out there and say, we're not voting for this bill unless it has $15 minimum wage in there. And you want to cry about it? Go cry about it. I'm up here fighting for the workers. I'm fighting for the workers. I don't care if the bill goes down. That's on you. That's not on me. Because it can pass with the $15 minimum wage. So put it back in. Put it back in. That's what you need to do. It needs to be the Justice Democrats voting as a block. I want to see like a 12-vote block of actual left-wing Congress people where you're strong and you fight and you're not afraid to take the incoming fire from Democratic leadership who's going to hate you. They already hate you, but they'd be more open about the fact that they hate you, and the media. If you're not going to vote as a block and you're not going to throw your weight around and you're not going to block stuff, then I literally don't know why we sent you there. I don't know. Because I know. I was a co-founder of Justice Democrats. I know what the idea was. The idea was for you to actually fight. And you're not doing it. And that's your own fault. That's your own fault. Because you're under this insane notion that, well, it was on Biden to fight for the $15 minimum wage. He doesn't even agree with it. Of course he's not going to fight for it. You guys need to flex your power and your muscle. Go learn about how the Tea Party operated. That's what we wanted from you. John Boehner, the Republican leader during the Tea Party era, hated the Tea Party. Why? Because they made his life a living hell. They said, we're not going to fucking fall in line for your dumbass. We hate you just as much as we hate Pelosi. We're going to get what we want from you. That's what you need to do. Learn to hate Pelosi, learn to hate the media, learn to hate Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. They're not your friends. And listen, at the end of the day, even though I know as a matter of fact that these people are not corrupt, if at the end of the day they get duped into letting the corrupt people win, then again, I don't know why we sent you there. You're just wasting our time and taking all of the progressive energy out of the room. And laying down in a chalk outline of yourself and pretending you're heroes in the process. That's unacceptable.